Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down the wisdom of a man who went from totally broke to a millionaire in just 6 years. We're talking about the legendary business philosopher Jim Rohn, and we're going to distill his core teachings into a powerful guide for designing a better life. So picture this. This was Jim Rohn at age 25. He's got a young family to support, but he is struggling big time. Creditors are calling him up, he's behind on all his promises, and he's just discouraged, wondering what on earth to do next. I mean, he literally had pennies in his pocket and just felt completely and utterly stuck. So what happened? How did this guy go from that low point to a millionaire in just 6 years? It wasn't like he changed the government or the economy suddenly got better. Nope, he changed something much, much closer to home. Let's dig into the turning point that really made it all possible. What Rohn called his miracle actually showed up in the form of a mentor, a wealthy, really insightful man by the name of Mr. Earl Schaff. He took a liking to this young, struggling guy and offered him a job. And that's when it all just clicked. Rohn suddenly realized he was blaming everything and everyone, the taxes, his boss, you name it, but he wasn't looking at the one thing he could actually control, himself. That shift in perspective, well, that was the start of everything. And from there, Mr. Schaff laid out what he called the 5 major pieces to the life puzzle. Okay, so the first and honestly the most important piece of this puzzle is your personal philosophy. Rowan learned that this is the single biggest factor that determines how your life turns out. It's the foundation for literally everything else. You see, Ron realized he'd spent years blaming the wind, blaming the economy, blaming his circumstances, when all along he should have just been focused on adjusting his sail. So that's the crucial point, right? But how do you actually do that? How do you set your sail for success? Well, this slide shows a really simple but profound idea. Rohn taught that success isn't some giant leap. No, it's the result of these tiny daily disciplines. Think about it like this. Choosing an apple over a candy bar. One time won't change your health, right? But do that every single day for a year, and the outcome is radically different. See, small errors repeated over and over, they lead to disaster. But small disciplines repeated every day, that's what leads to a fortune. So with that philosophy as your foundation, we can move on to the second piece, your attitude. Because let's be real, it's not just about what you know, it's about how you feel about what you know. That's what really shapes your reality. Your attitude is kind of like your own personal weather that you create every day. How are you looking at the past? Is it a school you learn from or a club you use to beat yourself up? Is the future something that inspires you or something that gives you anxiety? And maybe most importantly, how do you see yourself and what you're capable of? But here's a really critical point Rohn made. Stop chasing motivation. Instead, chase education. Real, lasting change starts with a blunt, totally honest look at your own mistakes. You have to see where you've gone wrong before you can ever get truly inspired to make it right. Okay, so you've adjusted your sail with a new philosophy, you've created some better weather with your attitude. Now what? Well, now it's time to actually power the engine of change. And that brings us to the next 2 pieces, action and results. I love this quote because it perfectly captures Rohn's whole idea about action. The miracle of life, it's already set up, right? The soil, the sun, the seasons, they're all ready to go. But they're waiting for us. We have to be the ones to actually plant the seed. Action is the piece that actually works the miracles. And it starts simple. Just do what you can, and then do the absolute best you can. But of course, the big question is, how do you know if your actions are actually working? And that is where the 4th piece, results, comes right in. Rohn insisted that we have to check the scoreboard. Life is a numbers game, and you have to be willing to look at those numbers and let them teach you something. When Mr. Schaff asked Rohn, "So, how many books have you read in the last 90 days?" This was his answer. 0. A big, fat 0. Now, that number wasn't a judgment. It was a teacher. It was a blunt, powerful piece of data that showed him exactly where he needed to change his actions. So, after you get your philosophy, attitude, action, and results all working together, you arrive at the final piece. And this is really the ultimate goal of all this work, designing your lifestyle. See, the good life isn't an accident. It doesn't just happen. It's a design. You take the results you've earned from all your hard work and you deliberately build a life of joy and fulfillment. So how do you become the architect of your own life? Well, Mr. Schwab gave Rohn 2 simple but totally profound rules. And these two rules really get to the heart of the whole message. Don't just wish for wealth. Don't just hope for happiness. Don't leave it all up to chance. Instead, become a dedicated student of the things you want. Treat them like subjects you fully intend to master. And really, this is the shift in thinking that changes everything. The focus is never on changing your external circumstances, because let's be honest, you can't. The focus is always on improving yourself, because that's the one thing you can control. And that right there is the ultimate key. The greatest investment you can ever make isn't in your job, it's in yourself. One makes a living, sure, but the other can make you a fortune. So the question I'll leave you with is this. What's one simple discipline you'll start today to begin working harder on yourself?